In the last year or so, I've been working on developing a video game called Alien Warriors. It will launch soon on the Google Play Store and App Store, and I wanted to use this game to discuss a few topics on game design. So in this series, we will break down the ins and outs of developing a video game using Alien Warriors on a more theoretical level. I constantly have countless ideas for video games. So when it comes to evaluating whether an idea has potential or not, I toss in some placeholder graphics and start making a prototype. And within the first few hours of development, you quickly start to realize whether your game actually makes fun or not. Or you start to realize the limitations of your abilities. I, for example, experimented with a pet game. The key differentiator to all the other pet games out there would be the immersion. You toss him a ball and he would start playing with it. You toss him some food and he would start hurrying towards it. He would show you his mood by his expressions and his health by the way he looked. But then I quickly began to realize that in order to make the game immersive, I would have to make great art. The backgrounds would have to be beautiful, the items he would interact with had to be as well. But when I made my first background, I realized how bad my art skills actually are. I may continue developing that game in the future, as I have countless ideas on how to make this game fun, but I sadly will not be able to make this the game I want it to be. Alien Warriors, however, was quite different. I was just messing around with a few concepts in Godot. Nothing too fancy. I made an object move towards the mouse and look at it. I created a bit of art and I was good to go. So now my spaceship was moving. I thought maybe it could shoot. But shooting alone was not too interesting, I suppose. There had to be enemies to shoot at. So I modified the art that I made for the player and I created an enemy that would move towards the player and shoot in regular intervals. When the enemy was killed, I would simply let it replicate itself. And I realized that it made fun. A lot of fun. So I stuck with the idea and added a ton of features. A lot of new enemies, power-ups, a wide palette of mechanics and customization. The game was beginning to form. The advantage now was that due to the setting, art could be simpler but still pretty to look at. Now I immediately started to sketch a roadmap. I planned on implementing missions, which would be a tool for introducing new concepts. My goal was 100 missions, with a new feature being introduced at least every 6 missions. So that means either a new enemy, a new power-up, a new game mode or a new mechanic. This, however, took a long time as I constantly had to come up with new mechanics. Not only that, but they also had to be tested for fun. And there was also more that had to be worked on than just missions. An endless game mode, the visuals, a few features that would keep the player engaged for longer, monetization, game optimization, and more were all things that needed work. I will make videos in each of these topics so that we can discuss them in detail. But for now I want to give you a quick overview on the development process of this game. Of course, every new feature would mix up the balance of the game. How would I balance the implementation of rewarded ads with the upgrade system? Watching an ad should not make you overpowered, but it should also be worth it. Adding a new strong power-up would mean that you'd receive more money more quickly. I would then have to think about how to adjust the price curve of the game. Difficulty was also a difficult thing to think about. I played this game for countless hours, so it was hard for me to judge. I wanted this game to be quite a challenge. My idea was that from mission 50 on, the difficulty would increase rapidly. The problem was that making the game difficult for me would make the game insanely difficult for new players. So I got myself an army of testers, which mostly consisted of my friends, who would play through the game and give me constant feedback on their experience. I even added a lock screen that would give me almost all the detail that I needed. They would simply send me a screenshot of the screen, which would help me with analyzing the difficulty curve. It was also important to watch them play the game. That way I would know how they interact with the UI and how they handle different situations. For example, I realized that new players wouldn't realize that the enemy took damage. There wasn't any feedback, which was especially frustrating with stronger enemies who have more health. So to counter this issue, I added a health bar to indicate how much damage an enemy takes. A health bar was initially something I opposed, simply because of sheer taste. But I realized by analyzing the way my tester played, that one was severely necessary. I also realized that players tended to stop playing missions in favor of the endless mode. For example, when there was a more challenging mission. So I quickly added a skin system. After completing each mission, you would receive a loot box with which you could draw a skin. Of course, you are not able to buy them with real life money. Loot boxes are simply a reward for finishing missions. And it paid off. They made playing missions extremely addicting to the point where my testers almost begged for more content. They just didn't want to stop playing the game. And that experience was extremely motivating. Knowing that my game actually makes fun was so satisfying. It made me confident that maybe this game could do well. Of course, having a satisfying feeling while developing is great. But as I am a human being and I need food, I had to think about how I would make some money out of this game. My main focus was to not compromise the gameplay experience, which is why I only started thinking about monetization towards the end of development. My idea was to implement rewarded video ads, which would give the player a little bit of money so they could upgrade their spaceship a little bit. It wouldn't be too much, and you can easily finish the game without ever watching a single ad. I also implemented interstitial ads, which are shown every few missions. They can be clicked away immediately and are, in my opinion, not really annoying. I think that I struck quite a good balance between monetization and gameplay experience. The game is of course not yet finished. There are still a few things that need to be polished up, for example the shield animations or the HUD, but I'm quite happy with the state the game currently is at. So I hope you liked this quick overview over the development process of my game. I will make more episodes of this series in which we'll talk about each topic more in depth. For example, making great AI, or how to balance the upgrade system. Leave a like and a comment below on how your first impressions of my video game are. I would really appreciate it. And with that I say goodbye.